You know that moment when a friend texts you, "I really want to get a thigh trainer but I'm scared it'll just take up the whole garage and I'll never use it." I've been there. I've spent a few evenings scrolling through endless listings, watching a dozen demo videos, and even reaching out to a couple of owners in fitness forums just to make sure I wasn't sending you into a purchase that would end up as a pricey coat rack. If you're on the fence about the BodySolid S2IOT 1 Series II inner and outer thigh machine, stick around. I'm going to walk you through what it actually feels like to bring this piece into a home gym, where it shines, and where it might fall short. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about why the thigh muscles get such a bad rap. Most people focus on squats, lunges, or the occasional leg press, but the adductors, inner thigh, and abductors, outer thigh, are often neglected. That gap shows up as weak knees, poor hip stability, and even that awkward wobble when you step onto a curb. The S2IOT 1 is built specifically to close that gap, offering two separate stations in one frame, a seated inner thigh squeeze and a standing outer thigh press. The idea is solid, but the real question is how it translates when you're actually trying to squeeze out a set between your favorite TV show and a coffee break. Design-wise, the machine feels like a classic BodySolid piece: heavy-duty steel tubes welded together, a low-profile base that sits flush against the floor, and a set of padded levers that can be swapped out depending on which muscle you're targeting. The biggest win for me was the adjustability. Both the seat height and the lever arm length can be moved in 2-inch increments, which means you can accommodate a range of leg lengths without having to guess. In practice, that means you can sit down, lock the seat into place, and immediately feel the pads line up with your knees for the inner thigh squeeze. No awkward overreaching or feeling like the machine is pulling you off balance. Ease of use is another area where the S2IOT 1 scores points. The weight stack sits on a single selector pin, just like a standard leg press, so you're not juggling multiple plates or hunting for clamps. When I first loaded the stack 150-pound total, it felt like a respectable middle ground, heavy enough to challenge a seasoned lifter on the outer thigh press, but still manageable for a beginner doing 23 sets of 12 representatives. Changing the weight is literally a matter of sliding the pin up or down, and the selector clicks into place with a satisfying tactile feel. For anyone who has tried free-weight hip abduction machines at a commercial gym, you know how often the plates can be a hassle. This eliminates that friction. Now, let's get into the day-to-day reality. I set the S2IOT 1 up in a spare corner of my garage, where the floor is concrete and there's a little breathing room around the base. The footprint is roughly 5 feet by 2 feet, which is definitely not compact, but it's also not the size of a full power rack. If your home gym is already crammed with a bench, squat rack, and a couple of dumbbell racks, you'll need to consider whether you can carve out that rectangle without sacrificing a walking path. On the plus side, the base has rubberized feet that keep it from sliding during a heavy squeeze, so you won't hear the whole thing shudder across the floor. From a functional standpoint, the inner thigh squeeze works best when you're looking for a controlled, mind-muscle connection. I found that a slow 3-second contraction, hold for 1 second, and then a 3-second release gave the most burn. It's not a machine that will let you throw a few explosive representatives and feel like you've built massive muscle in 5 minutes, it's more of a targeted, isolating tool. That's exactly the point. Though if your goal is to shore up hip stability for running or to add a finishing squeeze after a leg day, the machine delivers that precise stimulus without you having to improvise with resistance bands. The outer thigh press, on the other hand, feels a bit more like a traditional leg press but with a narrower path of motion. Because you're standing on a fixed footplate, you can adjust the angle of your stance to focus more on the glutes or the outer hips. In my own routine, I use it after squats as a finisher, 3 sets of 15, lightweight, just to fatigue the gluteus medius. The real strength here is that the movement is stable. There's no wobble that can happen with a freestanding cable machine, so you can push a decent amount of weight without worrying about balance. So who should actually consider buying this? If you're a serious home gym enthusiast who already has the core lifts covered, squat, deadlift, bench, and you're looking to plug the missing link in hip stability, this is a logical addition. It's also a solid pick for